Welcome back, guys, to the channel. I'm Jake ELLENBOGEN. Today we'll be talking about Tutu Atwell as another video as part of our 2021 Rams stat projection video series. Before we get into it, if you like what you hear, if you enjoy listening to me talk or watching me talk, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and drop a comment. Helps the algorithm. Now, let's get into it. Tutu Atwell, also known as Tutu Atwell, went to Louisville. He was a second round pick, 57th overall by the Los Angeles Rams in the 2021 draft. He is likely going to be the fifth receiver on the roster behind the likes of Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, and Deshaun Jackson. He's probably going to be behind guys like Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, and Tyler Higbee as far as target share is concerned. But with Tutu Atwell, we know his athletic ability. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my video on Tutu Atwell. I broke down about 30 minutes of his film and talked about things I liked and things I don't exactly love. He was held back by quarterback play. Malik Cunningham was great in 2019, but for whatever reason in 2020, he wasn't the same quarterback. So when you go back and you watch Tutu Atwell and you go back and you look at the stats, you see in his first year, which was 2018 as a freshman, he had 406 yards on 24 receptions for 2 touchdowns. The next year, he improved to a massive improvement of 69 receptions for 1,272 yards and 11 touchdowns. And then the next year, he actually only played 9 games. He missed 4 games due to injury, and then he ended up opting out for the year. He had 46 catches for 625 yards and 7 touchdowns. So why do I tell you this? Because Tutu Atwell is going to have a different season than any season he's had before. And the reason I say that is because the Rams are going to use him differently than he was used at Louisville. What if I told you Tutu Atwell, during his entire career at Louisville, only had 12 carries for 26 yards and a touchdown? That's 2.2 yards per carry. Now, keep this in mind, those end arounds, if you flip it as a quarterback, they're considered a reception. So he does have a lot of those. But that's pretty crazy numbers. Now, I'm going to blow your mind. We're going to get into it, and we'll start off, again, 17 games, you know the rules. We're starting off with 15 receptions on the season for Tutu Atwell. Look, I like Tutu Atwell, but I don't think this is the year he breaks out, and it shouldn't be. He's not being asked to do a ton. This draft, the Rams drafted one day one starter, Ernest Jones. I'm not even saying he's the best guy they drafted, but as far as what he is going to be asked to do, he's going to be asked to come in and refine that linebacker room. But at wide receiver, this is the deepest receiver group in the league. There's no need for Tutu Atwell to come in and instantly play. So for that reason, I think he's going to be used situationally on a game-to-game basis and to win games, not win seasons, win games. They're going to use him situationally. So 15 receptions. I know, seems a little low-ballish, but hear me out. He's not going to be used a ton. He's going to be used as well, like Deshaun Jackson in my previous episode. He's going to be used to stretch the field. He's going to be used to open up everyone's attention to him, draw attention away from others. That is what Tutu is going to be used for, and in other ways. We'll get into that. So that means I have 177 receiving yards. Not the most. You'd like to see him get to at least 200, but hey, he's not being used as much as Van Jefferson was last year in this season because they have not only a 4th guy, they have a 5th guy. So keep that in mind moving forward. 10.4 yards per game. Doesn't seem all that great, right? 10.4 receiving yards per game. It's not all that great. But again, you're asking this guy to come in and essentially learn and be available in a game-to-game basis. He's not going to start. That's not his deal right now. He's for the future. That's what the Rams, when they drafted him, they envisioned him to grow over time and likely be a starter with Van Jefferson and not a 5th guy. They want him to be the 5th guy now. This isn't a forever position. He's going to continue to get promoted over the years. And who knows, we could be seeing Tutu Atwell number 15 starting at wide receiver sooner than later. But as of right now, I have 15 receptions, 177 yards, 10.4 yards per game. If you did the math, that's 11.8 yards per reception. I understand that would be a career low for him if you continue through his college days. He actually had a career low his last year, which wasn't a bad year by any stretch, but he had 13.6 yards per reception. You look in 2019, he had 18.4. I don't know if we'll see that, but if we do, that means that he's much more NFL ready than we expected. Tutu Atwell, 11.8 yards per reception. And, of course, the big number that everyone wants to know, how many touchdowns is this guy going to have? I think he's going to have more than Deshaun Jackson, but not much more. I'm going with 3 receiving touchdowns on the year for Tutu Atwell. I think this is somebody that can obviously win over the top, and he can win on the bubble screen that you have to know Sean McVay is going to use at some point. He's probably going to get, one of those end around type of plays where it counts as a passing touchdown, but in reality you could have argued it was actually a carry. I would not be surprised if that's the case. But Tutu Atwell, I have it 3 touchdowns on the season in 2021 projection. Now we move on. I did say this would be a quick video, but it's actually not going to be as quick as you might have expected when I said that, because I think he's going to have a whole different take on this offense. And like I said, 12 carries, 26 yards, not that impressive in college. Let Sean McVay use him the way Sean McVay wants to use him in year 1, and I can assure you he will have more than that. He's going to have more carries and rushing yards than he had all of college. Not that hard when it's 12 and 26, but I have him at 33 carries. I have him more than Robert Woods. I have him being arguably the 3rd running back. The reason I think this is weird, because the Rams drafted a receiver in the 2nd round, and you're saying that he's gonna lead. His stats are gonna be more geared towards running the football. Hear me out when I say they are going to get this guy used in all different formations. I said he can be lethal in Sean McVay's offense. I didn't say that he would be a day 1 starter or a breakout player. I said give him time, and this guy could be absolutely lethal. I still think Sean McVay is going to use him in a way that does make him lethal. I don't think they'll use him a ton, but I still think they'll use him enough and probably give him 5 to 10 touches a game where he could actually impact the game. So we're talking 33 carries for 215 rushing yards. I realize that comes as a shock to some people, but the fact of the matter is this. I feel really good about saying that Tutu Atwell will have more rushing yards than receiving yards, because that's how I expect Sean McVay to use him. You already see how he uses Robert Woods. Now you add more speed to the fray. You've seen this guy house an 80-yard run. I mean, this guy can do it all. And so I think for that reason, while he's not a gadget guy by trade, I think they will use him as such in being a gadget guy. I think it helps the team. At the end of the day, you're trying to win football games. Tutu Atwell says he'll do whatever it takes to help the team win. That's what it takes to help the team win. He'll do it. Then 3 rushing touchdowns is what I have here. So 6 on the year in a rookie season is not that bad for Tutu Atwell, being the 5th receiver on the roster. And this is exactly what the Rams want to do. You talk about getting Joseph Noteboom in the 3rd round, and you used him at guard, not knowing if he was a guard or not, but mainly to get him reps, because maybe he is the future at left tackle, and that's what you drafted him for, but you don't want him to sit there on the bench and maybe not play at all. Maybe now, because you realize that he's not really a guard, but at the time you didn't know that. This is kind of the same thing with Tutu Atwell. You're putting him in there because you don't want to just have him wasted away. You want to get him some action in his rookie year without necessarily stepping on the toes of other receivers or putting him in position that is just too much for him. They don't know yet, so that's what I expect that they'll do. So we have 6 total touchdowns there. And now we move on to the 6.5 yards per carry average, which you could have figured it out already, but I figured I'd do the math for you. 6.5 yards per carry is a lot better than 2.2, which he had in college. I'm not looking at those college stats, though. College stats are meaningless. Van Jefferson never had a 1,000-yard season in college and went in the 2nd round, and the reason being is because the quarterbacks held him back. Very similar to Malik Cunningham's 2020 season in Louisville, holding back, in my opinion, Tutu Atwell. And then finally here, that comes out to be 392 total yards from scrimmage. And that's going to be that. But you know, all in all, I know there's going to be people that are upset by this, maybe even complain a little bit. But hear me out when I say that's a good year for Tutu Atwell, because he's expected to come in here and essentially be a 5th or 6th option in this offense, maybe arguably 7th or 8th if you're factoring in Higbee, you know, Cam Akers, and Henderson. But the fact of the matter is this: if he has nearly 400 total scrimmage yards and he's touching the ball, what, 48 times? That's not bad. That's not bad at all. So I think the Rams would sign up for that for sure. You know, and he could have a better year, but do not expect this guy to come out and blow everyone out of the water the way some of you guys are expecting not Van Jefferson, but Deshaun Jackson. It's just not realistic. I mean, the thing is, we're projecting everybody to have 17 games. So essentially, if everyone had 17 games, that means nobody got hurt. If Tutu Atwell plays more, it's going to be because somebody got hurt. I'm not projecting injuries. So if you come back to me and say, well, I told you Tutu Atwell would go off, but I told you that I wasn't projecting injuries, and if Tutu Atwell goes off because of a Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp injury, which I'm not saying is not going to happen, but that's not the same thing here. If we're talking everybody's playing the same games, this is what you would see, in my opinion. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in for this episode of this series. We're going to be doing another video. No more wide receivers. I know Skowronek we could do, but I'm not going to get into special team stats. But we'll do Tyler Higbee, and then you know, maybe we'll do, instead of, since you can't really project the offensive linemen, you know, we could do something with like a tape breakdown or something. And then we'll move on to the defense, because we're trying to do all the starters that we can. And now for our comment question of the day, which comes from a user, CS Wilson. Great user, by the way, a guy that's always on my channel. Appreciate you. CS Wilson asks, what needs to be started from scratch? Go any aspect of entertainment, sports, whatever. So here's the thing. I could argue that there are a few things. The NCAA being a not-for-profit organization, which, come on now. Hey, we could talk about the you know, the topic of the day, looking at, I don't know, the class action lawsuit that I keep saying needs to happen. When you look at what these big companies do on here, and by the way, the video for the Julio Jones thing, yeah, that got demonetized. But anyway, that's my point. I think if anything needs to be started from scratch, I think it's copyright law. I think the fact is fair use has kind of been around and hasn't actually been used correctly. I don't think fair use, the definition of fair use seems just like it changes. It's an ever-changing thing. So I would say if anything needs to be started from scratch, it's it's copyright law, because there's people that literally can't use a 5-second clip on an hour-long video without having their entire video either taken down or demonetized, and given all their revenue to said person for 5 seconds of their content, even if it's credited. So, CS Wilson, I definitely think that the thing that needs to be started from scratch is copyright law. But yeah, you guys, if you guys ever have any sort of comment question of the day, you can just drop it in the comments and I will try my best to answer it. CS Wilson, congrats on being our first comment question of the day. Go subscribe to CS Wilson, follow him on social media. He'll have to post to social media next time he posts. But thanks, guys. Thank you for your participation. I appreciate it. But if you want to support the channel, of course, as I mentioned earlier, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button and comment for the algorithm. But on top of that, if you want to subscribe, if you want to support the channel further, you can go over to my Patreon and head over to my Patreon, become a patron today, or sign up as a channel member, $4.99 a month. But that's gonna do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and you guys take care. Later.